package, and especially UI, PUA, FPUC, and escalated benefits and enhanced unemployment benefits. The great news across the board is that we learned today that the people that are trying to get the second stimulus check done this week for purposes of Congress are fully on point for the UI and the PUA extension. So that's really good news. Bernie Sanders made the comments very clear in a series of quotes today that said basically it is unacceptable unless there's a stimulus check included with those items. We cannot go home unless there are strong unemployment benefits plus $1,200 per adult plus $500 per kid for every working person and family in this country, Bernie Sanders said in a statement today. He also made it very clear that no one's going anywhere unless a stimulus check comes out from Congress this week. This is also really incredible, great news. Congress is not going to go home until we do that. That's what the American people want, and you really do want that. Thank you for tuning in for a special Monday afternoon live broadcast of Being a Mitch, in which I go over your UI, PUA, FPUC, and unemployment questions. After this is a taped recording of Evening's LLA Check, in which I go over the latest details about your second stimulus check, state stimulus check, and more. And then after that is Purple Power Live. I come back on live then and I answer questions about state stimulus. So if you have questions about how do I get rent in Arkansas, if you have questions about how do I get utilities in Nevada, I'll answer those questions on Purple Power Live at about 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So how is everybody? Very exciting night. There you go. Being a Mitch, hilarious. I appreciate that. Ricky from Chicago saying hello and keep up doing the great work. I really appreciate that. We're simulcast tonight in Instagram at Lalate _. So thank you for the great vibes and thank you for everyone that's tuning in tonight. Tonight is a really exciting night because viewers are starting to really understand how the PUA UI FPUC dynamic sort of plays out. Let me go through each of those slowly, and then I'll answer some of your questions about the questions. Miss Ashley, how are you, LA? Not that good. I'm in a lot of pain on this side, so hopefully I'll start to feel better later this week, but I'm really struggling here. LA, Norma is homeless now. Who's Norma? Norman or Norma? Who's Norma? There we go. If you need a volunteer, reach out to news.la.com/community. Let's get to the details of each of the items for unemployment. First, for FPUC, that goes on top of your UI and PUA. That is for the boost. That is on top of your UI and PUA. That expired in July. So what are they going to do with this PUA? How much per week? When is it going to be retroactive? When would it pay? And how are all those details going to get into play? Well, the moderates are talking about $300 a week for 3 weeks going forward. Now, understand FPUC expired in July. That's 30 weeks ago. They owe you about uh, no, not 30 weeks ago. I guess about 20 weeks ago. They owe you 20 weeks of FPUC. You've not been paid these FPUC. So when we talk about retroactive, we talk about going back in time, 20 weeks. Now what they're talking about is just going forward 3 weeks for FPUC, for 3 weeks for $900. My position is, okay, if they want to do that, fine, but it's not more important than a stimulus check. It's less important than a stimulus check. My also big concern is that they're going to try to give you that and say we're not going to do retroactiveness. And so I don't like when people say, when people owe you something, an enormous sum of money, 20 weeks back, have not paid you it, and they'll say, okay, I'll give you $900 for it. Instead of 20 weeks back at $300 a week, which is $6,000, or $400 a week, which is, $8,000. Instead of 20 weeks, it may even be more than 20 weeks by now, maybe almost 30 weeks. Instead of $6, $8, $10,000, they're going to give you $900. I don't like that. It's almost insulting. It also is very problematic. Why would someone sort of think that that's fine? There have been a lot of great comments by Bernie Sanders today, and one of them was, why have the negotiations just sort of fallen apart? What kind of negotiations is this when you go to 3.4, go from 3.4 trillion to 188 billion new money? That's not negotiation, that's a collapse. We cannot go home unless there's strong unemployment benefits plus $1,200 per adult, $500 per kid for working family and this country. Democrats passed a $3.4 trillion bill, and you have Republicans in the administration talking about 1.8. Now you're going down to $188 billion. That doesn't include one nickel for stimulus checks for working families. Totally unacceptable, and this has to get rejected. So he talks about strong unemployment benefits. Strong unemployment benefits refers to FPUC. My issue about it, though, is the dollar of the week could be strong. You could say $600 for a week, but what week? What are we doing? We're doing 3 weeks when you're owed 20 weeks. So I'm a little bit concerned about any discussion about FPUC. It just makes me antsy. It just makes me nervous because I don't think they should be doing it in an emergency bill right now. I think Joe Biden has said he'll give you the FPC retroactive in January. Do it then. That's like the multiple stimulus checks. Do it then. What needs to be done now is UI, PUA, and a stimulus check. So let's go to UI and PUA. For UI and PUA, what's important to understand is that UI and PUA may have expired for you or is about to expire. And your state cannot extend PUA. PUA is a federal instrument. They cannot extend PUC. That's a federal instrument. What they can do is they can give you additional weeks of UI. How they're going to give additional weeks of UI to PUA people is sort of strange. It's up to each state. It's a little weird. If you're getting PUA from a state and your PUA is gone, then they're going to give how they're going to give you UI and what are they going to do from it? And ultimately, the concern is that UI, PEUI, PEUC, and PUA expire in a few days, and they got to get it done. So everyone involved wants to extend PUA, and UI. That's the great news. There's no disagreement upon that. It should not be a difficult issue. It's so simple. It's just everything that goes on top of that. So what should you know if you're looking at your benefits? You're like, oh, I'm about to lose my weeks of benefits starting tomorrow or starting yesterday. One viewer said it was today. My PUA ran out this week, says Golden Throat 86. My PUA ran out this week. So what's important to understand is that you need to look at your website where you certify for benefits. I don't know if you do it on a phone or you do it on a computer. Wherever you certify for benefits for unemployment every week, you need to look into it and look at it, the end of this week, look at it next week and see, wait a second, am I able to certify for benefits? They may allow you to continue to certify for benefits even though the benefits have run out. They may not have allowed you to certify for benefits. It's really going to be up to the state. But if you can certify for benefits as soon as you can certify for new benefits. What's going on with this new bill? There's supposed to be a vote on it today. No, there was never supposed to be a vote on it today. There is no new bill. The bill that is issue is Josh Hawley's bill. That is sitting in the Senate, and that will be the blockade before the continuing resolution discussion. What's going to happen is you're going to see something land from the Senate, from the House in the Senate, and it's not going to be good. And the senators are going to say, no, it's not good. There's no stimulus check. You got to do our stimulus check bill first before you do anything else. So there you go. That's UI, that's PUA, and that's FPUC. What about extended UI? So some states are giving extended weeks of UI. So they're giving you extra weeks of UI going forward. It depends on your state. I've heard it's in New Jersey, I heard it's in New York, and it's certainly in Hawaii. Not every state will do it. That's what's important to understand is that not every state has the financial ability to give you additional weeks of UI. And how they get you that UI from PUA also really confusing. Um, my extra UI ran out 3 months ago. Mine ran out last week, said someone else. A lot of people will be running out within just days. And so some states are picking this up, some are not picking it up. If your state does pick it up, stay in tune. Go to your state's unemployment website, hit the alert for email alerts or text alerts. So you get an alert when something new is announced. And then when something's new announced, then you can have a sense of relief if it's announced. Next, escalated benefits. Escalated benefits you can do anywhere, whether you're on UI or PUA, whether you were unemployed before and are now employed now. You could do escalated benefits provided you made $18,000 or more 2019. You take your 2019 tax return, you get it on the device in which you can communicate with, whether it's a phone, or a computer, scan or picture. And then you write a letter, say, hi, here I am. I made this 2019. Here's my I'm currently getting paid this amount of money per week. Please see if I qualify for additional weeks of benefits. Additional weeks of benefits, very simple words. Don't make it complicated. Don't say anything else or escalate benefits. Don't say escalate benefits. Make it very simple words. Extra week, extra benefits. And then send it off. Call them on the phone. I had one viewer last night said they got my application and they said they're going to get it processed within about 30 days. Good. Some viewers have gotten it within 24 hours. You want them to get it going. Your range is generally really open. So if you here's what to expect. If you have been unemployed since about March, which is about 30 weeks, and you made $30,000 or more, then you'll raise your benefits about $300 a week, which would be about $9,000. If you made $20,000 or more in 2019, you'll be able to raise your benefits about $100 a week, which is about $3,000, bam, right in your account. And if you made more than $18,000 in 2019, then you'll raise your benefits about $50 a week, and that'll land your account, bam, about $1,500. And you need to stay on top of them. Call them and call them, call them. With that, drop any questions you have about unemployment, UI, PUA, FPUC. Again, questions about rent, utilities, state, stimulus. I'll be covering that on Purple Power Live tonight. If you have any questions. Do you think it's harder to find a job during the pandemic? They say that the job opportunities are very robust now. I don't know if that's true. I know that a lot of big box retailers are doing great jobs. So I would absolutely apply at Home Depot, Lowe's, absolutely right around. I would just go right in there. They're definitely hiring and they sometimes pay hazard pay. Um, I can't wait till December's over. Will we be retroactive back? Oh, that was a great question. Will we be retroactive back in January for unemployment? That's what Joe Biden's promising. He's promising retroactive FPUC, 30 something weeks at $600 a week. I ran out since number one. Will I get UI in Texas? Yeah, so that's the promise, is that the UI would go back. Absolutely. That is the representation for the continuing resolution, is that the UI and the PUA would go back to when you were active and reactivate you. And then the screen goes blank. uh, is 12 Days of Christmas. Are you here? I'm here. Is California on the list of stimulus checks? I don't think California will ever get the stimulus check. It's just too big a state. California, Florida, and Texas, I don't think that's going to happen. Are escalated benefits based on your net or gross income? Oh, I don't know what they do it based upon, but when I'm talking about it, it's based upon gross. Now, remember, when you're contacting them, you're not using the word escalated benefits. They don't know what the hell you're talking about when you say escalated benefits. That's a word you and I use only on this channel. But when you're sending them the 2019 tax return, they're generally looking at gross. For example, let's say you had $100,000 gross income, but you had a major tax deduction. So they don't care about the tax deduction. They're caring about how much money you made. There you go. My pandemic UI still shows I have $7,000, but the state of Florida says benefits expire 12/26. Will I still get pandemic UI? Pandemic UI. So if your benefit year shows it ends on 12/26, then it likely ends on 12/26. Now, every state has strange computer systems, and sometimes the computer systems are not what they intend them to be. But if it says 12/26, then it generally means 12/26. When would SSI go in? That would be in January. Miss Ashley, you can sort of DM me their names. No, I'll take care of them. Uh, my PUEC says 2,600 will be the whole, will get the whole, said 2006 will get the whole amount. I don't know what that means, Jesse. You want to ask that question again? I don't understand the question. Um, Merry Christmas. I appreciate it. Can Trump sign executive orders? Absolutely. Absolutely. Minnesota UI will be extended 13 weeks starting December. Wow, that's great news. So Minnesota is among the new states, viewer just said, that'll get additional weeks of UI. That's really good news. So Minnesota again will get additional weeks of UI. Your volunteer is so amazing. Thank you. Oh, well, I appreciate it. Oh, well, wonderful. So I had one viewer in UI just compliment one of the volunteers. What I talked about earlier this morning was sort of the need to triage situations as sort of emergent, emergent, urgent. It's that word I use, emergent, urgent. It's like emergency and urgent together, emergent. And that word is so it's unique to the show. And the viewer had an urgent situation, so I put that person in touch with one of the volunteers, and took them under their wings, and that was really helpful. Oh, another person said another volunteer is great. I appreciate that a lot. You know what's important to understand is that we're sitting here and we're helping people in need, and ultimately there's always some crazy wacko that joins the room, and the crazy wacko is probably acting wacko from their Bentley in the front lawn of their mansion, and doesn't understand the severity of the situation. The severity of the situation is a wonderful viewer who on Instagram. Messaged me earlier today that is homeless, has no ability to communicate with their children during the holiday season because of problems with their phone, and that homeless viewer wanted the ability to communicate with their children because of the issue. And this viewer's only lifeline to communicate with the children was by phone, and I put that emergency circus viewer in the context of two volunteers who stepped up and really helped that volunteer. Ultimately, that's the spirit of this channel. And if someone wants to come in and talk about something sort of ridiculous, then you look ridiculous because look at all the incredible work that people are doing. Uh, would children that receive SS and death benefits get the 2,400? Yeah, so survivors always get things like that. So it's important to understand what did I miss? I just gave in the room. What did I miss? Uh, so what you missed was all the deal provisions that are on the table for the continuation of the CR have a provision in there that would cover extension of UI and PUA, and that provision of UI and PUA is as important, but not first in importance, as a stimulus check. And we learned that from Bernie Sanders today. Bernie Sanders said we cannot go home unless there's strong unemployment benefits plus $1,200 per adult, $500 per children for every working person and family in this country. And that is the benefit. That is wonderful, good news. Anything for PA? Yeah. So PA and UI would be covered in these bills, memos, post-it notes, ultimately when they become a bill. And your PUA and your UI would extend. I assume that's what you went when you said PA. FPUC. Well, one of the proposals has FPUC forward $300 a week for a few weeks. I just don't think it should last. I don't think it can last. Now, ultimately, I don't know if it will last because it's sort of weird. Like, why are we doing FPUC for just 3 weeks when we're owed 20 something weeks of FPUC? It's very confusing. It doesn't make sense. Will PUA be retroactive? Yeah, just Joe Biden's representing that you'll get FPUC retroactive back to July at $600 a week. Um, yeah, Sweet Manis, and there's a second person as well, Sweet Manis. Grab that person as well. How about anything for Atlanta, Georgia? Yeah, so Atlanta, Georgia has a rent stimulus. Catch that on Purple Power Live. I'll have more about that as well. Yeah, there's a second person as well. Um, then what's important? Emergent. Yeah, the new word, the new LLA language, emergent. Just wait for FPC. We'll wait till January. We don't get screwed, says Matt. Very well said. I mean, I don't want FPC to be butchered, and that butchered is not something you want to have happen. There's a lot of things that are really at play, and it's you just don't want something off kilter. So there you go. Any PPP? Yeah, they want to put PPP in there. There would likely be PPP in there. I just don't know why they keep on doing PPP, but they're going to do another round of PPP. Not EIDL now. EIDL will come in January. But that's good news for people who really like PPP. There's $800 billion of unused PPP currently at SBA, so I'm not quite sure why the they got to do another round of PPP. It's really hard to tell. Is it true that the $1.4 trillion CR is being worked on? When, um, the problem creators are talking a lot of press. They're just talking a lot of press. Say my name asks, is a $1.4 trillion CR on the progress? Yeah, are there going to be two bills released? If you're just joining the room, my point is there could be five bills. I mean, there could be five House bills, but the thing that's at issue here is that um, what happens in the Senate is the big issue. What happens in the Senate is the big issue, and then ultimately, they could pass a really bad thing in the House, but when it gets to the Senate, that's the real key, and that's where we're staying focused on this as well. Any other questions about UI, PUA, or FPUC? Any other questions about UI, PUA? How do I find community page for the volunteer? Diane, news.llate.com/community. In all the videos posted today, in the first pinned comment, it's in the first pinned comment under, you open the pinned comments at the bottom of the comments. Are we going to have back pay on any of the stimulus checks? Pay back any of the stimulus? No, you don't pay back stimulus checks. Stimulus checks you don't pay back. PUA will not be retroactive to July. That's flat out false. Why do you say that, Shady? Is just sort of making things up as you go along here? Uh, PUA, first of all, PUA is not retroactive. It's FPUC we're talking about. But FPUC expired in late July. PUA is not, if she's referring to PUA, actually, PUA is never retroactive. PUA goes forward. Now, PUA is retroactive if you just applied for PUA, and that in applying for PUA, you're waiting to get those things approved. If you exhausted all your PUA benefits, what happens? Nothing. That's why you need Congress's relief right now, because ultimately, you need that relief to kick in. Any other questions about UI or PUA? Miguel Alonso. Yeah, what's your question, Miguel? My state's max unemployment is 750. I'm getting, ooh, I went really fast. I'm getting 680 a week, made 70. Can I get escalated benefits? I'm getting 680. Yeah, I mean, you might be able to raise it from 680 to 750. Absolutely. Any other questions about UI? All right, well, there you go. Join me on Evening's Check coming up after this. I appreciate you for joining me. And join me for Evening's Check. And if you have additional questions, I'll see you on Purple Power Live right after that. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and save LA for more.